Hi everybody, my name is Israela Oron. I used to be a Lieutenant General in the military and the Deputy of the National Security Advisor in Israel. And now I'm dealing mostly with peace organizations and social organizations. But I'm not the issue here. I have come here to raise your attention to some issues that in our daily lives we don't pay attention to them. And I'm not going to tell you about stuff. Most of the time I will try to ask questions about it. And I'm not sure that I have answers to all the questions that I'm going to ask you. So maybe you will give me some answers for them. My presentation is about, the title I think was about dealing with the past, which is, if I were you, I wouldn't be here because dealing with the past is some old stuff. But it's not exactly like this. And I will start my presentation by asking you, what was the longest war ever in the history of the world? Documented history, not the history. I don't know what happened like 20,000 years ago. Yeah?
Wasn't it the 100-year war, which actually was 160?
This was a conflict that lasted, and there is the Rose War, but the documented war that is the longest is 16 years. It was in the 17th century between Austria and Turkey. Did you know this? I didn't know it either. And what was the shortest one?
There was one that lasted a couple of hours. There was one like this.
Yes. What was the war?
I was going to say the Six-Day War.
The Falkland War was even shorter. Remember Falkland?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. So there are, what I am trying to, hi! This is not a good sign here.
No,
A black cat. It's yours?
Yeah,
Okay.
No, it's the whole school.
Okay. Okay, hi, it's okay. Wars, but this is very relevant because wars are not a very good thing and not a very good sign. By the way, what was the war that had the biggest numbers of casualties?
The Mongolians?
Casualties, it was in the Second World War. We are talking about 64 million people dead. 64 million people dead in the war, which is quite a number. And by the way, more than half of them were civilians. So when I'm talking about wars, basically I'm talking about a phenomenon that existed since humankind was invented. I don't want to argue here if it was invented by God or by other phenomena, by Darwin, I don't know, but war existed all the time. And when we are talking about war, there is always a point, even in the longest war ever, 100 years, 15 years in a row, never mind what, it comes to an end. Why a war comes to an end? I promised you questions. Why all of a sudden there is no more war? Someone loses. So there are usually two sides, and one side wins and the other surrenders.
Actually, both of them lose.
Okay, exactly. Actually, both of them lose, but usually in the history, war stopped when one side surrendered and the other side won the war. But sometimes, even if there is no one side to win and one side to lose, there is a decision by leaders that this is a good time to reach an agreement, a treaty, a peace agreement, something that will stop the bloodshed. This is a good idea. And why do the leaders decide this kind of decision?
Because they have no other option.
And because the alternative is? Is worse. Because they do understand that the continuation of this situation will bring them to a war situation, or even worse than this, they will not be elected next time if it's a democracy.
Worse.
Okay, so basically we are dealing with a situation where the leaders understand that this is not good for them. And sometimes they even understand that this is not good for their nations. So they cut a peace agreement with the other side. And we know many examples in the history of the world of peace agreement that were signed. What is the problem with this kind of peace agreement? Why is it problematic? There is a war for 1 year, for 10 years, for never mind how long, and all of a sudden there is a peace treaty. What could happen as a result? Yes, please.
Well, not usually, but sometimes in peace treaties, there are every time those underlying issues which cannot be solved. So if the two sides still have resources, it's easy for them to go to another war.
Okay, the problem is the sustainability of the peace treaty, which you are absolutely right. And what is your name?
Maria.
Maria. Maria was right. Is she always right? No. Nobody is. Even me. Okay, so this is the problem. The problem with peace treaty is the sustainability. It means that we want a peace treaty to last. But you see, here we have an issue. In the time of war, in the time of conflict, the leaders of both people encourage the people to hate each other. Why? Yes, please?
It's convenient.
What?
It's just convenient because then the chance of getting like, it makes it motivational.
Exactly. Exactly. They cannot motivate people to go to war unless you really hate the other side. This is very important to keep it in mind. So you have to encourage your people to see the enemy as the ultimate devil. They are doing this and this and this and this and this. And then there is another thing. When there is a war, what happens? People are killed. People are injured. People become refugees. And it causes very strong feelings without the encouragement of the leaders to the other side. Very negative feelings. So on one side we have a treaty, a peace treaty. On the other side we have the feelings of the people. And do you think that by the fact that some papers were signed in a fancy hotel in Geneva, people will stop hating each other? The answer is no. So what will happen to the sustainability of the peace treaty? It will not last. It will not last. So leaders have to take care about this issue. And you have to pay attention that people are thinking about their history. If there is a peace treaty, it doesn't mean that we have the same history, both people. And the most important thing, and now I'm going to introduce you to something that I'm sure you already know, something that is called a narrative. The narrative of both people. So there are two sides. One has one narrative, the other has another narrative, and this is the same events, but different narratives. And what is a narrative? A narrative that is the story that the people are telling to each other about their history. What happened? What happened that we reached this point? You see what I mean? Okay, so this is a narrative. I will give you an example. First of all, I will give you an example not from our territory, and then I will come back here. I'm laughing because there is a saying in Hebrew. Who understands Hebrew here? Okay. There is a saying in Hebrew, which I will try to translate because it's very difficult. הרוצה לשקר ירחיק עדותו. The one that wants to lie is going to to give a testimony from far away. So first I would like, but this is not really true because the testimony is right. Because I'm going to give you an example from Ireland and England, North Ireland. This is the area of conflict. Yeah. People were fighting with each other until the Good Friday Agreement, which was reached with the help of President Clinton in North Ireland. There was a bloody war there. Do you remember? You read about it. You don't remember because you were not born then, but still, this was a bloody war between people, okay, that came from England and were settlers in Ireland, and the people that are native in Ireland, the Catholic people. So we have a war between English people that are Protestants and the Irish people that are Catholic. And this war lasted for many years. So when the English people, the Protestant, by the way, they don't call themselves English, they call themselves in another way, but never mind. They say, okay, we came here to North Ireland because we wanted to improve the lives of the people in North Ireland. We came here to develop the country. We came here with our knowledge from England, etc., and we wanted to do good. So why are they fighting us? The only problem is that they control the state, the country. And they control the people that were Catholic. And the Catholic people decided that they don't want those foreigners, by the way, to control them. And their narrative was, okay, people from England came here, and with the power of their weapons and their technology, they are trying to control us and to take our lands and to take our cities. So our two narratives, same situation. So now I'm coming back to us, to Israel, okay? And Palestine, which is very convenient because I'm dealing with it for many years now. And I'm telling you now the narrative of the Israeli, I'm trying to be short, and a narrative of Palestinian. Let's say that I'm a woman, Palestinian lady, and an Israeli lady, a Jewish lady from Israel. Because in Israel there are also Arab citizens, Palestinian citizens. So our narrative, the Jewish narrative, is that we were in Europe and other countries in the world for 2,000 years after we were deported from Israel by whom? The Romans. And we were not very popular everywhere. It was very long time ago, by the way, 2,000 years. Even I cannot remember it personally. So 2,000 years ago, we were deported. We were everywhere in the world. We were not very popular, to say the least. And everywhere we were, they wanted us to be elsewhere. Okay? So we were like the wandering Jew, from one place to another. They killed us and murdered us and raped us, until in the 19th century, the end of the 19th century, somebody, was very smart, and a Jew with a very long beard, he decided that the best solution for Jews is to go back to their country and to establish a state where it is no, in the same place that they were deported 2,000 years ago. What is the name of this guy? Herzl. And what is the name of his idea? Zionism. And so Jews came here, started to come here. They ignored, of course, there were Palestinians here, but not many of them, and they were not very much with technology and, and we were here, we were trying to mind our own business, and they didn't want us here, and they were trying to throw us out. And of course, they didn't accept the UN resolution in 49, In 47, in November 47, which we call it in Hebrew Kaftet November, which is the 29th of November in 47, they didn't accept the separation, the establishment of two states in this area, and they rejected the UN resolution. And then Ben Gurion, which was a very wise man, decided to announce the state of Israel in 48. And a day after the announcement of the state of Israel, all the Arabs invaded Israel, all the Arab forces and all the Arab military. And of course, they thought that this war will last how long? A few hours, by the way, few hours. Now, this is serious. This is not a joke, because this was the estimations. And it didn't happen, and the Jews won. I mean, we. Okay, what is this story I just told you? The Jewish narrative. And I'm 63 years old, and this is what I was told in school since I started to study. This was my narrative, and I was convinced that this is the truth. And I didn't mention the Holocaust because this was not the reason for the establishment of the State of Israel, but we have the Holocaust in the Second World War. Well, 1/3 of the Jewish people were murdered. Okay, now I'm coming to the Palestinian narrative. I'm now a Palestinian woman. I'm sitting here in this territory, which is Palestine, by the way, not Israel and nothing else. And my parents and my grandparents, and for generation, 100 years back, this was my village and I lived there. And all of a sudden, I see strange people coming. I'm also a 60-year Palestinian woman. All of a sudden, I see strange people coming to this territory. They are buying lands, they are building houses, they are building cities, and they really are buying my land. And they don't pay attention to the fact that I live here. And they don't care about me living here. And they are trying only to concentrate upon their ideas and their Zionist stupid idea, which means that this whole country, with all the Palestinians that is living here, doesn't mean anything to them. So, and they, of course, they want to establish a Jewish state here. When a Muslim, I decided to be a Muslim, sorry, a Palestinian Muslim, they don't pay attention to my religion, to my aspiration, anything. They want all the state for themselves. And of course, I don't want them to be here. So we decided to reject the UN's resolution of 47, which is legitimate. And then, all of a sudden, this Ben Gurion, this short guy with strange hair, decided to establish a state here in May 48. And we don't want to live in a Jewish state. We want our state. So we decided to fight it. But unfortunately, we lost. And since then, our life is a nightmare. Because we are second-grade citizens in a Jewish state which pretend to be a democratic state, but they cannot be really democratic. Why? Because, first of all, they are a Jewish state, and this is the reason for the Zionism. This is one thing. And the other thing is that we don't have a state. We are denied of our national aspiration to have our own state. And in 1967, those Jews also occupied the West Bank and Gaza because of a stupid decision of Arab, which we are not responsible for Arab leaders, the Jordanian and the Egypt, and they won again, and then they occupied the West Bank and Gaza, and since then, they are occupiers. and they occupy our territory. And not only this, and they are settling there. Okay? This is my narrative. What's the problem with those both narratives?
Lots of feelings.
Excuse me?
Those have like different meanings.
Different opinions. What is the problem here? Yes.
I think that the problem is not only the different opinions, but they are also very oversimplified, because I don't think that you can establish like the Jewish narrative, the Palestinian narrative, because within these narratives there are so many other narratives that it's too simplistic just to say that the Jews think in this way and the Palestinians think in that way.
Okay, very good. There is a problem here. First of all, this is not only one narrative. It's much more complicated. But if I would like to really go into details, we'll have to spend here all the weekend, which we both don't want to do. So this is very complicated, and it was really simplified. But the problem is with those narratives, can I accept as a Jew the narrative of the Palestinian?
No.
You could try to
Right? It's not, don't answer with one word answer.
not to accept, but to understand.
Okay, very good. Okay, I cannot, sometimes when you deal with reconciliation, with dealing with the past, which I'm getting there, you have to people believe that we need to accept each other's narrative, and this is not the case. There is no way that a Palestinian will accept the Zionist narrative as is, the whole narrative. There is no way that a Jew will accept the Palestinian narrative as is. But what can we do? Do we have to agree to this narrative? No. Do we have to accept it? Not necessarily, not fully. But what can we do with the other's narrative?
Like, know it.
Accept that it exists.
Okay. Now, this is a very tough question. This is a very tough question. So, and it directs me to the methodology that I want to present to you today. And this is called dealing with the past. The idea here is, this is not my methodology, it was developed in Europe, in Switzerland, and we are working according to it. It means that in order to move into the future, to forget, not to forget, to deal with all the atrocities that were done, with all the killing and all the bloodshed, we have to do what? We have to understand and to know what is the perspective of the other side. We don't have to accept it. We don't have to agree to it. But we have to know. So this methodology contains 4 pillars. First, and I will elaborate on this. The first pillar is the right to know. The second pillar is the right to, this is the last one, but never mind, it's the most important, the right to justice. The third pillar is non-recurrence, the guarantee of non-recurrence. That it will not repeat. Okay, I have also issues with this English, and I'm trying to do it in a way that you will understand. And the third issue is right to reparation. And I will try reparation. Reparation is like to correct something, to correct, to make it right, to make it right. Things were wrong, and now we have to make it right. So we have to repair, to make it right. Okay. So this is the methodology, this is the model. And I would like to start with the for me, the most important one. לבריאות. The right to know. I was really shocked when I first was introduced to the culture and the history of the Palestinian people here in this area. I was shocked. I didn't know, for example, I'm giving you an example, that there was a feminist movement in Jaffa in the early 20th century. Did you know it?
Oh, no.
I didn't know it either, but there is a book. I read it. It was amazing. So our stereotypes about the other side almost doesn't have nothing to do with the actual facts. So the most important thing is that both sides will learn and will understand about the culture, about the language, about the faith, the religious of the other side, of the enemy. Because when you don't know anything about your enemy, this what makes him appear as a devil and not as a human being. The first thing about your enemy, you want to hate him because you are at war. So what do? You make something that we call it dehumanization. You don't look at him as if he is a human being. And therefore, you can accuse him with everything. There are some events in our history, I mean the Israelis and the Palestinians. It's okay that I'm giving the example from something that I know, because I really am not, I cannot go into details about the conflict in East Timor. But here, I think that I can give you more examples. When you are talking to an Israeli and you are asking him, how are the Palestinians? He will say, the average Israeli, they will say they are very cruel. Why? And he immediately will give you an example like,
Stabbing.
no, stabbing is nothing. What happened in 2003 in Pesach, in Leil HaSeder, which is a Jewish holiday, in Netanya, in Park Hotel. This was really, really, really bad. Many people were killed in a suicide bomber, and the Israeli will say, what kind of people do it? Okay, this is one thing. And then, when you talk to a Palestinian, an old Palestinian, not a young one, they have also many examples, but when you are talking to the old people, you say, immediately they are talking about Kfar Qasim, what happened in 1948. Innocent people were shot by Israeli soldiers. So everyone has their bad events, and it's very easy to say, okay, you see the Jews, Kfar Qasim. You see the Palestinians, Hotel Park. And this is the problem. Because if this is the only thing you know about the other side, you will never make peace with them. The only thing. If you choose to pick only the bad things about the other side, no way that the peace treaty that we signed, remember, will last. So the thing is, you have to know, the right to know. And for me, although the methodology says the right to know, I say the obligation to know. You have to know the other side, the history, the culture, everything. This is one thing. The other pillar, as I already mentioned, is the guarantee of non-recurrence. The guarantees that things will not happen again. And how do you do this? This is a question for you. How can you guarantee that this will not happen again after you sign a peace treaty? You can try. It was done. It was done in many places in the world.
What did she say?
Like, do you really think that it's like really possible to
To be
sustain something for?
it's never like 100% sure that it will happen, you know.
Like you
but
can try, but
when it's well designed.
I will give you only one example. A culture of peace. You have to establish a culture of peace. You have to change laws. You have to educate, for example, the military system, the security system, that not every Jew that they see, they have to kill them, and not in Israel, not every Arab Palestinian that they see, they have to kill him. He is not an immediate suspect. This is a culture of peace. You have to think differently. And the culture of peace is also expressed where? In something that you sport and schools and art and communication, the TV, the papers, the mass media. This is the place where you shape the public opinion. If every Arab is, if every Palestinian is, how do you say mechabel in English? Terrorist. No, it's not exactly a terrorist. No. Okay, whatever. I mean terrorist. If every Palestinian is a terrorist, and you say the Palestinian terrorist, even if it's a 13-year-old girl, you have to change the terminology. You cannot just address Palestinians as terrorists just because they are Palestinians. And you cannot address Jews as occupiers just because they are Jews. Okay? So you have to change the conversation, the public conversation, the mass media, everything. You have to change it. And this is an attempt, not a full success, sorry, to deal with it. The third thing, this is the most easy part, is the right to reparation. People were injured. People were killed. People became refugees. You know how many Palestinian refugees there are right now? The number. You know the number? 5 million, very good. This is according to UNRWA. But according to the Palestinian Authority, 7. Sometimes the numbers are more than Palestinians, but never mind. But this is, the UNRWA is talking about 5 million. Very good. You know how many Palestinian refugees were when in 48?
700,000.
Very good. 720,000 Palestinian refugees. Wow, this is the first time that I get this answer, and I'm a Palestinian refugee, some kind of expert, and it doesn't matter what audience I'm talking to, this is the first time that I got the right answer. כל הכבוד. Okay, 720,000 Palestinian refugees. And now 5 million because the refugees, this is, the status of refugee is inherited. So we have many refugees here. So what can we do with the refugees? They were hurt. They have to be?
Right.
Okay, so when we are talking about reparation, we are talking about what kind of reparation can be done.
Right of return.
Right of return is the demand of the Palestinians. This is for 97% of the Israelis a no-go because of the demographic issue. But what else can be done with the Palestinian refugees? For example,
financially,
money, compensation. First of all, people that had property in Israel, why shouldn't they get their money? Etc., 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 etc. What about rehabilitation? Victims, should they be rehabilitated? Excuse me? Not only psychologically. No. For example, I will give you an example for rehabilitation. I already mentioned that I know something about Palestinian refugees. Okay, what is the countries that have the largest number of Palestinian refugees? Jordan, very good. But this is the answer that I usually get. This is not a unique phenomenon. So in Jordan, like about 70% of the Jordanian population, without the new refugees from Syria, are Palestinians. Okay? So if you yes, it's a lot, yes. You want to talk about democracy? Okay, not in Jordan. Okay, so we have many Palestinians in Jordan. The majority of the population are Palestinian. The majority. And they are living in camps, but not only. Some of the most luxurious properties in Amman used to be Palestinian refugees camp. I don't know, have you been there? One of you? This is very interesting. But never mind, if you want to rehabilitate refugees, you have to build infrastructures in Jordan. You have to build schools. You have to build roads. You have to build hospitals. The rehabilitation is not only personal, like you compensate personally somebody. You have to give the infrastructure, okay? Okay, now I'm getting to the real deal. And don't worry, it's only another 5 minutes. I would like to talk about the right to justice. Now I'm getting to the most problematic part of my presentation. What is justice?
Justice is mostly personal, or like you can't define it because every side might see it different.
I know that I cannot define it. That's why I asked you to help me with this. What is justice for you, personally? What does it mean to do? Forget about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. What is justice? To make justice, make things just. Okay, fairness. What does it mean? That?
The right to be like judged in the right way. It means being fair. Like in both sides.
Fair to both sides. So both sides will get the same treatment, the same attitude, the same. Okay. Yes, please.
When all my rights reach at one point that don't hurt the other.
Okay. Okay.
Getting back my rights. Getting back the taken rights.
The rights that belong to you to get it back. Yes. Okay. What else? Yes, please.
I think the justice is to reach a point where everything is morally correct in some sort of way, and I think it kind of encompasses what everyone said. Like, it has to be fair, non-judgmental. It has to be equal in treatment.
Okay. Now we are getting back to conflicts between countries, between nations, between peoples. Is it possible to reach justice?
Full justice, complete justice.
Yes.
There's always the minority that wants something different than the majority.
Okay. So this is a no. Do I hear a no? Okay. Here.
I would say it's hard to reach justice for everyone, but it's possible to reach the justice for the majority.
Justice for the majority. Okay.
And it's hard to achieve justice if we're focusing on the past. If we are focused on the present.
Wow.
Justice especially.
Very good. I'm going to write it down. No, this is not a joke.
What you said?
Can you repeat it?
That it's hard to achieve justice if we focus on the past.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think justice depends on the past. No? I mean, what are you trying to attain justice for if you want to have a past? I think you're trying to atone for some sort of act or event. How can you have justice? Because
This is why I said
because I think that's the definition of justice. It's some sort of balance, like universal or so forth.
What is your name?
Carlos.
How?
Carlos.
Carlos. Carlos, the genius, he just said, he mentioned one word that is very important in our context, and the word is revenge.
I didn't say revenge.
No, you say revenge. You say no revenge. You mentioned the word revenge. I heard it. But maybe you didn't. I just heard it because I wanted to, because it promotes this discussion. We didn't relate to revenge. What is revenge in this context?
If someone made me feel bad, we made it.
No, not the definition of revenge, as opposed to what we are talking about.
Injustice.
No, we are talking about dealing with the past. We are talking about reconciliation. So what is revenge here? Yes, please.
Fix the past. If like something bad in the past, in the present, we have to fix it.
Okay, so revenge is a very natural human emotion to correct, I say correct because this is not really correction, to correct the past. When something bad is done to you by somebody else, your immediate reaction will be
Do something bad to themselves.
to do something bad for him. Does it correct anything?
No.
Does it make you feel good? Yes.
At first.
At first. At first. But then, no, it does not. Because it creates a circle of vicious circle of revenge and revenge and revenge and revenge. And sometimes when I was in the military, and we were discussing, sorry, I have to mention it because I was in the military. Sometimes I asked in the meetings, what is the purpose of this operation? What is the end result? What do you want to gain? Because revenge is not a working plan. This doesn't promote you anywhere. Is this clear? Okay, so revenge is out of the table. And now we are going back to justice. Just full justice cannot be reached. And this is something that I'm saying to you because I know. You cannot get justice to everyone. But what can you do in order to make the victims of a very bloody situation feel relatively okay? What should you do? And this is the mechanism that I'm talking about. What will be, for example, the first step that the Israeli leader can do towards the Palestinians when we reach peace? Maybe even before. What? Rega, somebody that didn't talk yet? Everybody? There are people that are not part of our conversation. This is a problem. Okay.
Okay, so first, answering to the thing with fairness, I believe that it's when people get what they deserve and they think that they deserve that. And the problem here is that in both of the, how do you say it? Like, yeah, both of the sides think that they deserve something different. And I guess that for the future, what they need to do dealing with it is reshape the idea that they have with the thing that they deserve by their own, and start thinking how they both deserve, and just reshape their minds.
Okay, very good. Yes, please.
Did you say anything there? Could you say sorry to apologize?
Okay.
That's kind of cute.
It's not cute. It's true. You won't believe when a leader says sorry to the other side, I am sorry. What impact does it make? You cannot believe how this affects. And you know why?
Because you have to acknowledge the other side.
Exactly. Now, two important words were mentioned by you, not by me. I know nothing about this. Acknowledgement. What does it mean? I know that I did something wrong to you. I know. I cannot ignore it. It's not as if there was not a village there in the area of Jerusalem that now doesn't exist. There was a village, a Palestinian village. And I know that there was a village. And I know that there are refugees. And I know that people were killed in Netanya, in Hotel Park. Both sides. And it's wrong. I know that it was wrong. It is not as if it didn't happen. What makes victims crazy and mad and unwilling to proceed? What? The fact that they are not, what happened to them is not acknowledged. First step. And the second step is apologize, because you have to be sorry for this. You have to feel sorry for what happened for the people. Okay? So those are essential steps to move forward. If you don't acknowledge, if you don't apologize, if you don't mention the rights of you don't understand. I'm not sure that every right will be given to the other side. But if you don't admit that you understand the other side, nothing will happen. So those are the 4 pillars. You have to approach every one of them if you want to deal with the past. You cannot, and I want to tell you a personal story. You know what is the Geneva Initiative? I'm one of the founders of the Geneva Initiative. And I am the one that is responsible for the chapter 7, by the way, it's in the internet, of the refugees, of the Palestinian refugees. And I think it's a good solution. It's not the best, but this is a good solution for, by the way, it was done with Palestinians, okay? It's not an Israeli idea. It was done with very high-ranked Palestinians. So this is the solution. And then when we finished it, we didn't feel good about it. Although I think of course, it was brilliant. But we didn't feel good about it. Something was missing. And what was missing there was exactly what we are talking here. There is a technical solution, there is compensation, there are procedures, there is an international fund, there are mechanisms, name it. But there is not something that is dealing with the past. So this was missing, and that's why we decided to deal with it as well. Thank you so much. And now I'm ready for your questions. Yes, please.
Okay. Maybe it's a very basic question, but it sounds so easy in practice. Like, it sounds so simple. Just apologize, acknowledge their right, and that's done. Why it can't be simply done? Why these steps can't be undertaken? Why? I don't know, I just feel like the first step could be taken from the Israeli side. It would just, I don't know, that's what I feel. But why one of the sides can't initiate it? What are the obstacles? It's like the ego for the lives of people.
I have an answer to this question. Why isn't it done? Because why is this such a problem to say, I'm sorry, and to apologize? 2 reasons. One reason, but before I'm saying the reason, I would like to say that yes, the side that has the upper hand has to be first in apologizing. This is an axioma. How do you say axioma in English? Axioma. You have, this is, and this is understood. This is one point. And the other point is why. Okay, this is a legal issue. You won't believe it. Because if you apologize, you basically are, does it mean that you take responsibility? Yes, in a way. So if you take responsibility, it means you are responsible. You are responsible, it means it has a legal implication. Okay, but of course you can argue, which we did. And we said, okay, you are afraid of the legal implications? Why not say that we have a moral responsibility, which is a different issue. And really, to answer your question, it's not only this. It's not only this. Because when you don't have the set of mind that brings you towards the road of peace, you are still at war. And if you are at war, remember the beginning of our conversation? You hate your enemy. You hate your enemy, you don't want to apologize. You don't want to apologize because you are right. You are born right. And everything you say is right. And everything you do is right. So no need for apologize. Understand? Okay, this brings us to other issues which I don't want to go in, but it's very heavy stuff here. Yes, please.
Okay. So I don't know why I feel like when talking about like the pillar of justice, we didn't really finish, because I don't think that apologizing and like taking responsibility for what you did is enough to bring justice. And like, I don't know, maybe I want to ask, like, in the specific Israeli-Palestinian conflict, do you think there should be someone else from the outside to oversee this kind of like giving justice, or do you think that's something that can come naturally?
Okay. What is your name?
Maria.
Maria, נכון. Again, Maria. You are the only Maria here?
No, there are like four.
Four Marias?
But here, yes.
Okay. You are the only one here. Maria, I was afraid of this question. Because when is your lunch?
Like 12:30, 12:45, it's fine. It's just time.
It's Saturday.
Okay. You know why I was afraid of this question? Because when you are seeking for justice, some people will bear in mind international mechanisms, like you mentioned. And somehow I'm suspicious that you know what you are talking about. Okay. And because I see it in your eyes. For example, you are talking about international tribunals.
Yeah.
Like what happened, you are talking about truth committees, like in South Africa. You know what I'm talking about? That victims testify in front of them. And then legal steps were taken. You understand what I'm talking about? And of course, the weak side in the conflict is seeking for justice outside the area. For example, in Hague, in the ICC, in the International Criminal Court. And the one that has the upper hand would try to avoid it. I didn't want to get into it, although I can talk about it till next Saturday's lunch. But I spare you this. I just want to mention one thing with this regard. Always you have to think about what this lady said, young lady, I must say. What do you want here? What is your purpose? What is your aim? What is your target? You want a sustainable peace. If you are going to dig more and more with the past events, I'm not sure this is the right way to achieve your goal. On the other hand, you cannot ignore it completely. So it's a fine line here that you don't want to cross. And since you are very young, this is the case with the most important issues in life. You have to find the balance. I hope I answered your question. Thank you very much. Thank you all, and enjoy your lunch. And it was a pleasure to be with you, because you are something. Thank you.